welcome to a scary edition of DCAU Talk, where we talk all things DCAU. My name is Brandon. Talk about the first episode to come out with the Scarecrow Batman the Animated Series called Nothing to Fear. This aired on September 15th, 1992. The synopsis of this episode: a horrifying villain named Scarecrow spreads fear gas and wreaks havoc at Gotham State University. This was again directed by Boyd Kirkland and written by Henry Gilroy and Sean Catherine Derrick. The cast for this is Kevin Conroy as Batman Bruce Wayne, Robert Costanzo as Detective Bullock, Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, Clive Revell voices Alfred, Mary Devon is Summer Gleason, Kevin McCarthy is Dr. Long. The computer voice, I'm curious if you remember the name, because we've talked about this name before, Richard Mole. What character does he voice? And it is a villain. See if you remember that. And I'll give you a hint. He was in the last episode we just covered, Pretty Poison. He hasn't become a villain yet, but he does become a villain.
Not Harvey Dent.
It is Harvey Dent.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. They liked Richard Mole's voice so much that they actually had him as different characters. So, like, he is the computer voice. So, he's the one that's talking to Batman about all the stuff they're finding. That's Richard Mole. That's Harvey Dent.
I got it right.
And Henry Pollock II is Scarecrow.
Huh?
Let's talk about some of the Bat trivia. This was the third produced episode. It was the 10th to release. Production-wise, this is the last episode to feature Clive Revell's voice as Alfred Pennyworth. As we discussed, Efren Zimbalist Jr. is who took over the role and played him throughout the rest of the series. Here's an interesting fact. The producers actually disliked this episode, believing the script to be mediocre and the pacing bad, and the methods used to defeat Scarecrow to be overly cliche. To quote Bruce Timm, it was written by Henry Gilroy, who had never written cartoons before. He was a film editor here and always wanted to get into writing. At the time, we didn't have a story editor, so we gave it a go. When he turned in his first draft, which wasn't bad, we hired our first story editor, Sean Catherine Derrick. We immediately came to loggerheads over this show. Some of the dialogue she changed wasn't changed for the better. Bullock calls Batman Zorro during a scene.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Commissioner Gordon about that, when he found the evidence, he's like, give the evidence over, you know. Coincidentally, Bruce had just seen a Zorro movie the night his parents died. And the hero has had an influence on him since. This episode marks the first appearance of Scarecrow in the series. Scarecrow originally used his fear toxin. And again, this is kind of calling back to On Leather Wings, that they changed how the story was supposed to go. Originally, he was supposed to extort money from Gotham's elite instead of going after the university out of revenge. I don't know why. I kind of like that. Again, it's like On Leather Wings. Kind of like him going after the elite more than the university.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the university kind of felt like it's kind of childish. Like, you're just going after him for revenge.
Yeah, because they fired him and shit.
Yeah. Of course, we get the iconic Batman line here. I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. And it became somewhat iconic and was used by Cartoon Network throughout their advertising campaign when they first began airing the series. Thomas Wayne has a speaking appearance in Batman's Hallucinations. This is his first appearance in the series. Martha Wayne is also seen with him in the photo. So this is the first time we ever get pictures or anything what Thomas and Martha Wayne are supposed to look like in this series. At one point, the Batmobile computer shows a list of nearby chemical companies. Among the companies shown are Star Labs from Superman comics, which would later be featured in Superman the Animated Series, and Axis Chemicals, which is the company that turned Jack Napier into the Joker in the 1989 Batman movie.
Okay.
And this was the first episode of the series to feature anything from Batman's origin. Only an episode of Super Friends titled The Fear in 1985, incidentally also featuring the Scarecrow as the main villain. And Tim Burton's Batman 1989 movie explored the Dark Knight's origins outside comics. This was really the third time they've actually done something about where Bruce came from.
Okay.
So, Ty, let's go into our Bat-tastic moments.
I don't think there was a lot when I think about it because besides seeing Scarecrow, which is pretty cool, but I don't like how his head shape was different when he took off the mask.
Well, see, that's the common thing with this whole series is his design always changes.
Really? Okay.
Yes. This is where I go, I actually don't like his design. This is probably one of my least favorite designs of him. There's one in the new Batman Adventures when Tim Drake becomes
Hmm.
Robin and Nightwing is there and so on and so forth. I like that design. He's all like in an all black suit and he kind of has a noose around his neck. It
Hmm.
kind of gives him a creepy, and he carries a staff around. I like that design of him more. And if it's not that, I actually don't mind the video game designs that they've done for him with like the needles on his fingers.
It's yeah.
It's more creepy. But yeah, that design is probably one of the things I dislike about this episode because it looked like a potato sack around his head.
It's pretty basic, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like if Kevin
Yeah.
Murphy can make it more scary in the Batman Begins film, why couldn't
Well,
you make it a little bit more
yeah.
creepy?
It looked like just a regular Scarecrow, pretty much.
Yeah. It looked like, you want me to tell you what else it looked like? You see the movies where they rob a bank and they just put the mask over that's supposed to be like a clear sheet. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what that looked like.
Like pantyhose and stuff.
Yeah, it didn't even look like a mask. It was just that's all he was wearing.
Mm.
It that's exactly what it looked like. It like yeah, you see the eyes and stuff in it like his costume has, but it's like was that needed? No.
mm. I like how he was, you could tell he was like a pretty average person. The only thing he had was the fear to make people, get scared because he didn't look like he had like super strength or anything like that. So I like the fact when they're like, oh, I used to be a professor. Oh, look at this, huh? He's a professor, huh? Like he's a professor, huh? Check this guy out. Oh, what a nerd.
But the thing I really enjoyed about this episode is it really kind of dives deep into Bruce's psyche.
Mm,
Like we said, we get the first time we see Thomas and Martha. Dr. Long, by the way, Dr. Long, the guy that he encounters in the elevator,
hmm.
what a dick. Like I'm gonna put it out there. He's such a dick to Bruce. Like, granted, Bruce has got to put on a persona outside of him being Batman. He's got to still live it up as the playboy Bruce, but he's
Yeah.
real hard. He was Dr. Long was a dick to him. Like, oh, your dad put a name for himself, and all you've done is tarnish the name. And it's like,
Yeah. Playboy, all that.
yeah, it's like he was a dick,
He
but
was.
he kind of set up what Bruce was going to deal with this whole episode. And after being drugged, he sees, which I love this animation, how they animated his dad in the flames.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was actually pretty clever of him, like, how he's tarnished the name and how he is never going to live up to what Thomas was. And then him looking at the picture and he's shaking.
Yeah.
But I love that scene too because of Alfred. Alfred, pretty like when he's telling him, like, he sees these visions where he's ruined the Wayne name, where he's tarnished the name, and where Alfred kind of goes, "That's rubbish. I know your father would be proud of you because I'm so proud of you." I love that scene because it shows you that Alfred has taken on the responsibility of Bruce
Yeah.
after the past and everything. It shows you how much he was actually a part of Bruce's life and how proud he is. That's like he treats Bruce like his own son.
Yeah. Pretty
Like,
much a second parent.
yeah, that's his parent.
Yeah.
That's why I always liked Michael Caine's Alfred overall. And that's from the Dark Knight series, like Dark Knight, his Alfred in those movies, because that's exactly how he treats him. He treats him like his own son. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm this, I'm that. I'm there to support you. And it's really well done.
Let me ask you this. You know, to be fair, I thought because all the Batman movies, his fear was bats. So if he never met the guy in the elevator and he said all that stuff about his dad being disappointed in him, would that still be his fear, or was that just implanted to his mind at that moment?
I think so. Here's my thing. I always had the feeling of Bruce Wayne always feeling like he will never hold up to what his dad ever wanted from him.
Well,
I think the bats is one thing, but in reality, that's his biggest fear is to not be up to that what Thomas would have done
okay.
or what his parents would have done. I think that's really his biggest fear. Like Batman's or bats are a fear of his, but it's like, how do you say it? You have like a physical fear and you
Hmm.
have a mental
And
fear.
then, okay.
And that's kind of where I look at that. Like he doesn't like bats, but that's why he becomes it because he becomes something he fears. But not only that, so in some ways it's kind of like he's accomplished that fear or taken down that fear, but now it's the fear of owning up to because you see that through the whole episode with him, right? Where you have
Yeah.
the iconic line, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am not a disgrace, you have that moment with him where he's finally overcoming that fear. And I think that's why that line from Alfred meant a lot because he's telling Bruce, you are, you should be so proud of what you're doing because I know your dad would be happy and I know I'm happy, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's what meant more. If it wasn't that scene alone, I could have seen where you're coming from with it, but I think that's really his biggest fear is to never because you even see him in the elevator, like he kind of like shrugs it off, but it bothers him.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it's more him with the fear of not owning up to what his dad ever wanted.
Imagine if it was like both mental and physical. Just his dad, just a head on a bat's body, just flying around. I'm
You're a disgrace,
disappointed.
son. But let's go into things you did not like.
So when he got all those people drugged with fear, like they're all like screaming, "Oh, get this off of me" and stuff like that. But then when Batman came, oh, it's a monster, let's get him. Like all of a sudden, you guys are like, "Oh yeah, let's get this." When you guys are scared.
Well, okay, so you remember the Batman Begins film? The one first Christopher Nolan one, the first Christian Bale movie?
Yeah,
Okay. Remember the scene where he puts the fear talks and that's what they see of him too? Is like he's this
yeah, but if they're so scared, they are like, "Oh, let's get him." You know what I mean?
I see what
And
you're
so,
saying because it's like, how can the fear is supposed to bring out your innermost fear,
mhm,
but yeah, Batman is something they fear.
yeah,
Like I
I'm just
see,
saying. The security guard, the spider, if of course he's scared because they felt real to him. So, and all those other people were having their own fear. But why did like just seeing Batman, seeing him as a monster, like, oh yeah, let's get him. Like, didn't really scare them. It made them brave. Like, oh, let's get this. You know what I mean? I didn't really like that part.
I agree with you. I see where you're coming from with that. Like it makes sense. The like I said, Dr. Long, I know part of it is, he's this professor, and you see that he's or kind of like the dean or the people or one of the people that runs the university there. And that's why Scarecrow's going after him because he's the one
Yeah,
that fought with him. Because that's one of the parts I like too, is they kind of delve deep into what he actually studied, which is phobias. But like how the university fired him because he was going too far with his experiments. But to see he was going after the university, I kind of felt like I hate to say it, it felt a little weak at
mm,
points. Like I understand you're going after Long because Long fired you, but like why wouldn't you take money more from him? Like why wouldn't you do stuff like that? Because at that point you're hurting him too in the process of it all. All you're doing now is let's just burn this area up. Let's do this. Take whatever you can, but we're burning everything else up. It's like, why wouldn't you rob him?
yeah. You could have just took the money and then burned the place.
Yeah, exactly. Like they took some money, but they didn't take everything, and that's what kind of was like, oh, okay.
It was more like pockets. As much as it wasn't enough. It was
Well,
like
like,
6,000 each, probably like 40, 60,000 at most. That's not a lot.
well, like, The other thing I didn't like is when they're in the blimp and Scarecrow is just saying, like, you lose, Scarecrow, and goes, on the contrary. And he just takes off in a plane that's then hiding in the blimp. It's like, that's where I kind of felt like it was cliche because it's like, oh, so the villain gets away. Oh, I'm riding this plane. It's like, how is it even flying? Because it's just like a glider. That's all it is. It's like
It,
it's gliding all the way through everything.
that blimp scene pretty much show you like how reckless the animation is. Like, oh yeah, we don't care. Let's just all crash into the building. Like
Well, that's why I said it just it was there. That's why I said it gave us our iconic moment with the whole line. Well, I am vengeance, I am night, I'm the night, I am Batman. That's pretty much the only reason why I feel like that scene's iconic. But like even the ending scene, I agree kind of in some ways, like it kind of felt a little weak when he sprays his own gas, or when Batman sprays his gas, or the Scarecrow's gas at himself or at Scarecrow.
yeah, like he knows the consequences. So I don't know why he didn't like protect himself getting like turning it off, you know? It's
Well,
kind
like
of
I think that's the best part of it is because we know he also fears about things, and we've seen that through the whole thing. Like he fears stuff still. He has his own phobias he deals with, but I just kind of felt like it was too quick. It was like, yeah, it's there. Like,
yeah.
okay, but yeah, that's what I said. The only thing I guess that I would change, and I've already kind of talked about it. I would rather Scarecrow go after the elite than to go after him for the university. And I would have changed his costume. I think that last costume in the new Batman Adventures is still creepy. It's still like that's Scarecrow. Like I know the iconic red with the sash over his head and everything like that is iconic.
I
But
think the reason his costume was so weak because they didn't have money. He burned it off.
you imagine his two henchmen just sitting there going, "Boss, you could get yourself a new mask."
Burn the gasoline. Oh, man, you're right. Uh, it's already wet though. I don't know what to do.
Boss, your mask looks like a potato mask because it is a potato mask. And he goes, "Wow, you're cheap." That's
Why
what.
potato man? I love potatoes, huh? The smell. The sweet potatoes, huh?
But that's why I said that's the only things I'd change about it. But let's go into the bat rankings.
I had a different ranking, but after like listening to a lot of your reason, I'm gonna say 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have it at a 7.9. It wasn't bad. It just, I just felt like we've talked about it when we talked to anime. I kind of just felt like it was a filler episode. Like I know we get the backstory of Jonathan Crane or Scarecrow, but
Yeah.
I just felt like it was there and it was rushed. I kind of see why the producers didn't like this episode because it did feel a little rushed. But that's why I say I rank it at a 7.9. It's not my favorite. And you'll see that with Scarecrow. Like I like Scarecrow as a villain, but the thing is, when it came to the show, I never really liked any of his episodes. He was just kind of. It's sad when I say I like Mad Hatter's character episodes more than I like Scarecrow's, and I've never been a Mad Hatter fan. But yeah, fans, let us know what you guys think about Nothing to Fear. What's your take on Scarecrow? Would you have rather him go after the elite, or do you wish he would have just continued going after the university? What do you think about the iconic "I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman" line? What would you have changed? Where would you rank it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Clapper. And let us know in the comments what you guys think. And you also can stay up to date to all the new podcasts coming out your way. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell notification so you never miss this episode. And if you like this content, you want more of it, hit the like button. We want to hear your guys' view about this episode because this is actually a pretty interesting episode to kind of see what everybody's take is. And we want to hear your guys' opinions on it.
I was just waiting for you to be like, leave a comment down below. Let us know what your phobia is.
No. but 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 yeah, and also for other great comic book and anime content, you can also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Without further ado, my name is Brandon.
I'm Ty.
And remember, we are vengeance. We are the night. We are DCAU talkers.